Hi, in this lesson, we're learning about email addresses for training businesses so that you can set up all the right email addresses, forwarding, aliases, etc., so that you could set it all up like a professional training company. Hi, I'm Angel from Artsy Course Experts, and we help creative course teachers with their tech. In this lesson, we're going to go over email addresses for your training business. What is it? Why use them? And how-to guide. Then we're going to go into an example and recap. First of all, what are email addresses? Well, emails in general are an application or a service to send and receive messages and files digitally to one or more people. So that's what email is in general. And obviously there's many ways that you can send messages, whether it's texting, direct messages on social. You can use traditional mail as well, but email is an important thing for your businesses. Why would you want to use email over other formats? Well, email is an efficient way to communicate with your team, with your vendors, even your clients and your members and students. You can send them messages, files, calendar, meeting invites. You can send one-on-one messages, have an excellent email trail there with replies, and you have context, and the email programs let you organize all that. If you need to, you can use email to send to distros, whether it's a small distro like your team or larger distros like an email marketing list. There's a lot of real benefits to using email. One very important reason to continue to use email is because you own that relationship. You own that contact for each of your clients, customers, students, members. If you were using a social network with followers, at any point, those people can leave you. Something silly could happen where by accident, maybe you posted some promotion and they say, oh, you can't post promotions on this particular channel, and you get banned or you lose access or you get hacked. Where if you're managing and using email with your clients, you own that email list and it's really within your business, and other social media platforms can't really control you. Let's get into the how-to guide about what are the essential email addresses that you're going to want for your training business. First of all, a little background on the technology. Email servers are different than domain and website servers. So domain is your company name, .com, .org, etc. On your domain, you might have a web server, you might have an email server, you might have a courses server or a community server. So all those different servers are listed in your domain. Your website server, for example, WordPress or Wix or Squarespace, that website server that you use is listed in the domain. So when browsers talk to your domain, they say, hey, what is the IP address of your www.yourdomain.com, right? So when they want to access that, they ask your DNS, hey, can I please have your web server? And then your DNS returns back a record, and then your browser then starts to browse all the web and HTML on your website. So just like your website would have a row in your DNS, your email server also has rows in your DNS. Another important thing is, as you elevate up from a micro business to small business or medium business, you got to get off your personal email addresses. So you may have at Gmail, or you may be using a Yahoo or Hotmail or AOL for your tiny micro business for the first few months. And that might be acceptable in the very beginning when you just have an idea or a spark. But after a while, you really need to use a proper email for your company. You're going to want several emails at your domain. So you don't want just this one address. You may have a team, whether it's full-timers or contractors, etc. You may even just want to organize your email with different email addresses. So having that one or two personal email addresses, that's not going to work. And you're not guaranteed to get all the variations of your email addresses on these personal email address platforms like Hotmail. Once you do decide to get email for your business, you're going to want to use one of the standard email providers. They have powerful tools, they have great settings. The most popular email providers are Office 365 from Microsoft. Google has a Google Workspace that lets you set up all the Gmail addresses for your company. So instead of at Gmail, they're at your domain, but you use the browser that everybody knows, the Gmail, where you're accessing your own domain business emails. And then there's others like Amazon Web Services or Zoho, but those are the most popular email providers, and most people are either using the Microsoft Office 365 or the Google Workspace. Behind the scenes, your email addresses are connected to your domain. So your domain is traditionally yourdomain.com, right? www.something.com. And like I said, your domain is going to have information about your email server. So what's going to happen is every email address that you have, like your name or sales at yourdomain.com or hello at yourdomain.com from your newsletter, right? All of those emails are connected to your email server. And when either you're sending outbound or you're receiving emails, when those other third parties are trying to reach out to you and their mail system is trying to talk to your mail system, basically the way it works is they're going to look up your domain and they're going to say, hey, domain, I'm trying to send you some mail. What mail server should I use? And that's when your domain system has a record for, hey, yeah, if you're trying to send mail to us, our mail server is at this exact IP address. So again, your domain name system has all the addresses of your key servers, like where's your web server, where's your courses server, where's your community server, and where is your email server. And so there's a record in your domain name system that uses the type MX, and that's for the mail exchange. And that's where it knows to talk to whenever it's sending email to your team or whenever your computer is trying to access my emails, you talk to the server at that MX exchange. Once you have proper professional emails set up for your company, you can access it via the web browser, like via outlook.com or gmail.com, or you can access it using email apps like the Outlook application or Thunderbird or the Mail app on Mac. And then, of course, there's a variety of mobile email apps that you get on your cell phones, whether it's Android, iOS. You have these default mail programs that come with the operating system, but then you can also go ahead and add additional mail apps. Me personally, I like to have 2 or 3 mail icons on my phone, and one of them's for my Hotmail, the other one's for my personal Gmail, and then I have my business email. Now, once you set up the different emails for your company, you can support aliases with alternate email addresses. So remember, for each email address, you're probably paying some number per month. So that's just to maintain the account, their storage, megabytes of files. So you're basically paying monthly or annually for some email address. So if you have 5 email addresses, you're probably going to be paying for 5 accounts every month or every year. But for each one of those accounts, let's just say webmaster@yourdomain.com, For that email address, you get the option of having aliases. So webmaster at can also be admin at. So it's one mailbox, but it can receive a variety of inbound emails connected to that primary email address name. So that's really useful. So if you end up with 10 or 15 different inboxes, they can all be routed to a small set of actual email addresses. Another thing with email addresses is that you can forward them internally or externally. So forwarding means you get an email at webmaster at your domain, and you can say, hey, just forward it to my name at my company. So I don't want to manage and alt tab and view 5 or 10 different email boxes. So even though you may have these different input boxes, these different inbound email boxes, you may only on a day-to-day check 1 or 2 emails. And the way you do that is because you have these other email addresses forward to your main email addresses. And when you're forwarding email addresses, in the very beginning, you may have your business email forward to your personal Gmail just to get everything going. But as you start to grow from a micro business to a tiny business to a small or medium business, then you're going to want to forward to your one main inbox for your business. So you may have webmaster at forward to your name at yourdomain.com. So those are the key things that you should be thinking about as you're setting up the different email addresses for your training business. Now let's check out an example. We're going to think about setting up your business emails for maybe your small or medium company. And we're going to go over some key email addresses that you should have for your business and maybe talk about for that particular email box would be a good setup. First of all, you're going to have your main inbox, your email. So this is maybe your first name or first name dot last or something like that. And you'll have aliases. So you can have your main email that you're sending out from and receiving. And for some reason, if somebody tries your first name dot last initial, it'll still get to you. So in the very beginning, you're going to want to take your name and maybe forward it to your personal email because you're just getting your company going. But later, you're going to want to really have your own inbox for your name. Maybe it's a system that's contacting you to ask permission or billing or something very specific to your name, and so that you only want the owner to do. So later on, you're going to want to manage your main inbox directly. You're not going to want to go through your personal email. You're going to want your main inbox. You're going to want labels for your subfolders when you're receiving email that you want rules and filters applied. You're going to want your own calendar that's your business calendar that you don't want to intermix with your personal calendar, although you can share calendars. But anyways, you're going to want that very specific email address and inbox just for you. Another popular one as you're setting up your company is the webmaster. And again, you don't need 10 different email boxes for all the different variations. So there's a host master, a domain master, there's an admin. You don't need all these different inboxes. One nice inbox for all these kind of roles is going to be sufficient for most small and medium businesses. So you can have a webmaster account, and then you have aliases for some of the other things like admin at, and they can all go to one inbox. And in the very beginning, you're going to just want to forward it to your personal email, or later on you forward it to your business email. And that's good enough. You don't need the whole team to see that. And also you want to protect against malicious. You don't want anybody to have access that they could potentially approve moving your domain to some other person. So you want to be able to see that. You're probably not going to share that kind of stuff with your contractor team. So a webmaster is the main one, and you have these aliases. Another address that you might need is some sort of general in and out communications, like a hello or an info at. You can make it hey, you could stylize it as well. And you're going to have a variety of aliases, whether it's hello or info or contact. So this is the main way that people are going to get to your company, right? So they're going to contact your company, and there's some basic inbox that you want everybody to know about, and also an outbound box. So when they do get an email from your team, where would it come from? And then, of course, they can get an email that's directly from the owner, and that's acceptable too. And in some cases, you may have other emails like helpers or very specific emails for each of your teammates. But in general, you should have a main inbox, outbox that's used for basic communications. And this is also used for your email marketing, right? So if you have an email marketing list and every week you're sending out some email subscription, email tips, where is it coming from? When your students, members, your audience, they receive this, where is the from? And so it might say tips at your company. So your customers might get a nice email that's hello at yourcompanyname.com, and that's where they're getting their emails from. And also, if they do reply, that email is going to get caught and received, and then you're going to specify rules. What happens when they email hello? So does it forward to, in the very beginning, to you, to maybe your personal email, or later on, maybe it forwards to your business email, or even a set of key people at your company? Maybe you have a virtual assistant or a contractor. So when an email comes in to hello, maybe in the later stages, you're forwarding it to 2 or 3 people. So that way you can take a vacation and your team can keep functioning and you can focus on what you do, and maybe your support staff handles inbound emails. Another important email is support. So if you're providing coaching, if you have a course or a community and maybe a student can't get in, or they lost their password, or they have some problem, you might set up a support email. They can't log into the system to send you a message from within the system. They can't get in the course, so they can't send the teacher a message. So you might also give them the option of a support email, as well as maybe a form on your website that they can use to submit a ticket or a problem. But it's very common to have a support at, or a care or service, or even feedback. And this is great for your student community. And when those emails come in to support, you're going to want to forward them to a few people. And that's a typical formula. And then later on, your support might end up being an entire system where there's tickets and a whole team is notified. But in the earlier stages, you take support, you forward it to your personal email. A little bit later, you take support, you forward it to yourself and maybe 1 or 2 other helpers on your team. And finally, it's a common practice to have a sales email, sales at yourcompanyname.com. So some other people also, depending on what products and services you have, you may have an affiliates or a partners. And so you can use the sales at address for prospects, for quotes, for invoices, for receipts, etc. So when prospects come to your website and they buy coaching, or they go to your course system and they buy a course, or they join your community, they're going to start getting emails from sales, that sales email address. And again, in the very beginning, you might just forward it to yourself, but over time, you might forward it to a dedicated person, or maybe it's yourself and 1 other partner that know how to answer questions. That's a great question, and that's answered in our frequently asked question. Or, hey, why don't we set up time to talk? So again, the sales email could also be used for a Calendly to set up an appointment if somebody wants high-end coaching. And when you do close and do the sale, then you send receipts and other information via the sales at address. So those are the key email addresses that you should use for your small to medium training business. So maybe about 5. So if you want to level up, set up about 5 key emails so that you're ready for growth. In the very beginning, they can all forward to your personal email address, but later on, you'll have individual email addresses for you and your team, and that should set you up to grow because those are the essential email addresses that all companies, especially training companies, need. So now you're a lot smarter on setting up email addresses for your company. So as fast as possible, get off the free personal email addresses. You're going to have your own domain, set up a business email. Even in the very beginning, if you can't afford it, start with one main inbox and then add some aliases, and over time set up several inboxes like we just went over. Once the email is set up, you're not really messing around with the domain and the website and all those things. It's just in the very beginning when you're buying and connecting the systems. And I would recommend maybe having a nice cheat sheet with all your email addresses, and then you're going to connect it up to your email service provider, and then you're going to connect it up to your marketing system so that you can send outbound emails. So that's a summary. Use real professional business email addresses for your training business. And once you set up the foundations, you can grow from a micro business to a small to a medium training business. To learn more, check out the info and links in the notes. If you're loving this stuff, subscribe to keep leveling up your creative business. And if you need any tech help with your courses, community, or teacher website, visit www.artsycourseexperts.com. Thanks for hanging out. Let's stay in touch.